So I high-sided my bike today. It's here. I'm here, so everything was all right. It was going about like 30-ish, 35 miles an hour. Came around a left-hand turn, let out the clutch, kind of gave it some gas in a second. Back end came out. No traction control on this bike. It came out. I tried to correct it, clutched in, it corrected hard, and I flipped over and high-sided it. And so here now in the aftermath, while it's all fresh in my head, I figured I'd go over some of the gear that made it so that I could walk away from this with basically just a scratch. Because you hear stories about people doing this and breaking arms and shoulders and hitting their head. And so I just figured I'd give you guys a quick synopsis of the stuff that worked for me and kept me safe. All right, so I was wearing all this gear. And I also had some normal work pants on that aren't armored because I just can't afford to buy good armored pants yet. And then I had rain gear on. And then I had this helmet on here, my Arai Defiant X. So first thing on the bike here, these are Renthal 7/8 bars. I think they call them Street Pro bars. But they are like insanely thick. You can see in the end there how thick that tubing is and what happened to it. So basically it bent. I don't know if you can see it here real well in this video, but this side is way down and that side's up. You can see that gap there between the fairing and see how big the gap is, but it didn't break. And so like the factory bars that I had on there, like I had the bike tip over off the center stand one time, just in the garage, sitting still, tipped over, and it bent it so bad that it like kinked the bar, and it was undrivable. It bent them so bad, and then when I tried to bend it back, it just broke the bar because they're just cheap bars. The Renthal bars, worth the money. They're $100 and 35 miles an hour, literally sliding on the pavement down the road into a ditch, and still was able to get it home. So second, and this one is the one that just kind of blows me away a little bit. These are GV series bags. Okay, so 36 liter E series mono key, which just means that's the mounting system for the bag. So when it happened, the bike was on this side, on the engine guard, the two guards there, and then on the luggage just sliding down the road. And this is all the damage it did. It didn't crack the case. They're still waterproof. It was raining. Everything inside is still dry. If I can get a close up here so you can see, let me switch my lens. So it scuffed it up pretty good. And you can see there's some plastic there that, shaved off. When I first wrecked, one of the guys I was with was like, "Oh, your bags are cracked." And I'm like, "Oh, no big deal. It happens." But then I lifted it up. They didn't pop open. They didn't come off. All that holds these on is if you put the key in here and turn and push this, there's 3 points of contact. Didn't break this off. Didn't bend the frame. Literally all the weight of the bike on it and all the force from the wreck. Nothing happened. So the next thing here, this is the T-Rex. I think it's T-Rex Racing or T-Rex Off-Road. And they make engine guards for lots of different bikes, including sport bikes. You can see all the mud all over it here. And this guy's a replaceable like resin puck, and you can see what it did there, how much of that is shaved off in the wreck. But this is a replaceable part. A pair of them is like $10. And then same thing down here. You can see what the pavement did to it there. It definitely shaved some of that metal off, but once again, replaceable part. Designed amazingly well. It's not bent or anything. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be. This is what that puck is supposed to look like. And what that's supposed to look like. But I'm just going to order, another set of those, throw them on there, and good as new. And then, side note here, these are the, oh shoot, I don't even remember the brand. They are Double Take mirrors, and I got this off the Union Garage website. It moved it up. It didn't break. So this pivot ball did its job. They're still tight. I can't move them, but this is fine. I mean, there's some scuffs on it, but this was like in the dirt on the ground, and it just popped it up. So mirror was fine. No issues there. And then what else did I want? Oh, the lights. So I actually just put these on last night. These are Harbor Freight. They call them their edge lights or something, Road Shock edge lights. And so they have running lights, high and lows in them. And you can see what this was all twisted back from the wreck. But it didn't snap the bolt off. It didn't break the engine guard. I think really all this is because this bar is so thick inside that the wall is like a 1/4 of an inch thick. But it twisted this all around. It was folded back up in, but I mean, that's all it did right there. It just shaved down some aluminum from the road. There's definitely some junk all around it. But the only thing I was worried about, whenever I picked the bike up, I had my lights on because it was raining, and there was some moisture behind this. But I went away, and I was worried I cracked it or broken a seal somewhere. But there is a vent right back there. You see that little, looks like a grease circ right there? That's a vent. And so I'm wondering if just because it was just sitting in the mud, maybe it got some moisture in it. But driving down the road, I ran them to try and burn some of the moisture out. And it seems to be fine. So I'm going to run it. You know, if there is moisture in it, I'll get a new one. No big deal. But so that's the bike stuff. So then on my gear, this is my Kriega Max 28 bag, and I'm a huge Kriega guy. Their bags are unmatched in quality. I've got probably 15,000 miles of riding on this. I live in the Northeast, so it's wet. It'll, you know, it's pouring rain, and then 90 degrees the next day, and then 40 degrees the next day. It's always been 100% waterproof. It's the most versatile, comfortable bag that I've ever had. This is what happened in the wreck. So basically, I high-sided, I went this way, I landed hard on my shoulder and elbow, and then I rolled a couple times and I slid on my back. So the backpack took the brunt of it from me, and this has that armor, they call it like soft armor or something, but there's like a polycarbonate plate in the back of this that does give some protection, and it kept me straight. It kept my back from, you know, flexing in a weird position or something. I was straight, I flipped, and then I slid on the bag. So you can see the road rash here. It didn't break the strap. There is a little cut in the bag down there that'll definitely make it so it's not waterproof. I scuffed up, you know, these buckles, tore this, you know, minor, really they're cosmetic things. If you didn't need a 100% waterproof bag, you wouldn't replace this. You would just keep using it. I need a 100% waterproof bag, and so I'm probably going to replace it, but I'm going to keep this as a backup bag, and it's just kind of my bag now because it definitely saved my back and neck with me sliding across the pavement on it. I actually didn't have these gloves on. I had my heated ones on, and they were fine. But I think the real star of the show here is this. It's the Speed and Strength, and it's called the Go for Broke 2.0, I think. I got it off Revzilla, and so this elbow, where this elbow pad is here, this hard pad, it hit the ground so hard that on my elbow, and it's not there anymore, there was literally a mark, a grid from the plastic, because it's kind of like a honeycomb rubber, and there was a grid imprinted on my elbow where it had impacted right there. And then this shoulder, at some point this shoulder hit the ground hard. I don't know if I hit on that shoulder first. Whatever the case is though, the jacket saved me. I know this shoulder made contact. There's some scuff marks here. But the jacket took the brunt of the impact. Obviously, because of the condition of it, I didn't slide on that armor much, so I can't say, oh, you know, I slid 50 feet down the road and, you know, the jacket didn't rip, because that didn't happen. I contacted hard on the ground on my shoulder and elbow, and then I rolled a couple times. So I probably, you know, slapped my arms around, but I'm fine. The only mark I have on my body, I'm sure I'll have some bruises and stuff, but right here on my left hip, I have a little bit of a scar, and that's the one part of me that I don't have armored jeans yet. And the jacket just kind of rode up, I'm sure, as it was happening, or from my seating position, you know, kind of hunched over. It may have been riding up, and that's the part of the pavement that contacted. But everywhere this jacket was, or my backpack was covering, there was absolutely no marks on me. It saved my elbows. I am 100% positive that I would have shattered an elbow or a shoulder, you know, from initial contact with the pavement going down if it hadn't been for this jacket. So these were like $129 when I bought them. I think they're $199 now. It's worth every penny. I would pay $2,000 for this now. Like it saved it. My ER deductible is higher than what this jacket costs. So right there, money saved in the pocket, right? Because that's what matters. So real quick here, the luggage, okay, doesn't break, keeps working. Engine guard saved my case, saved my fairings, my lights, everything. Everything on the bike did its job. Another thing I will talk about too, I have these Rizoma pegs on here, and these are just the universal peg mounts that you can get on, you know, wherever, Revzilla. You can see the mark where it made contact, and then it folded up like it's supposed to. It did exactly like it's supposed to do. This is a little, I would say it's more grippy, and it just is a better peg than the factory ones. And the factory ones probably would have done the same thing, but this folded up out of the way. The shifter wasn't damaged, so everything worked out the way it's supposed to. The main thing is, though, this engine guard saved this, because if this side case had cracked, I would have lost all my oil, might have lost coolant. This fairing right here from Kawasaki is like $275. The whole engine guard was on sale for $149. So even if I just cracked this fairing and had to get a new one, that's already more money than the engine guard was. So just buy an engine guard for your bike, all right? It doesn't look cool. Sure, you got a Grandpa Adventure bike. Who cares, all right? Anyways, so speed and strength, Kriega bag, a Rye helmet. Oh yeah, we haven't talked about the helmet yet. So I don't know what contact on my helmet. I don't remember exactly if my head contacted the ground. I'm sure it did at some point. It's hard to see here. Normally this helmet is pretty well spotless though. I have to clean it every day because of bugs. But there's some scuff marks here. There's a mark here. There's kind of a gouge right under there. So something contacted here, and then my visor, there's a pretty good scratch right here. But other than that, the helmet looks fine. I don't see any other cracks. I'm kind of nervous. Part of me says I should just buy a new helmet, but there's nothing on here that I'm like, you know, oh, I need to go immediately buy a new helmet. You know, nothing was visibly compromised, but I'm going to do some research, contact Arai. Probably have to get a new visor. This is a transition visor. So they're like, you know, $100. But I was sliding, and I literally saw weeds and, like, you know, branches and stuff, rocks hitting me in the face. And so if I hadn't had my visor down, that would have all been in my helmet, in my eyes and mouth. You know, who knows if it would have damaged something. But yeah, everything did its job, and I'm still here to talk about it. The only frustrating thing on this whole thing was as soon as I wrecked, like as soon as the high side started happening and I was trying to correct and, you know, recover it, I don't know if it was because I, you know, went like this with my head and it contacted the buttons on the Cardo. But like before I even was on the ground, my Cardo came up and said, group connection lost. And then so I wrecked and slid across the ground. And the two guys that are with me are like trying to talk to me, and they're worried because they can't hear me. So they're like, is he unconscious? Did something happen? You know, did he break his neck? And I stood up pretty quick because I wanted to make sure I was all right. I didn't, you know, you don't know what's going on. I stood up and I kind of made sure there were no bones poking out anywhere. And I told him, I'm like, I don't have comms. And I popped my helmet off, and I'm like, I don't know what happened, but first thing, the Cardo just shut off. And it also could have been from my phone. I have an iPhone. And as soon as this happened, it dialed or called or texted whatever 911. My wife got a text. My brother, who's my emergency contact, who was riding with me, he got a text. And then like 2 minutes later, a state policeman pulled up and he was like, hey, we got a report of a crash at this site. And we were like, we're all good. I got a couple scratches, but it's rideable. I'm taking it home. And then one other quick side note about the phone while we're talking about it. So I have this RAM mount here. It's not their traditional X grip. It's the one where you slide it down, pop it in there. I don't know what happened, but the phone popped out of that and slid like 100 foot down the road. Like I was getting everything back together, and like my buddy that was with me was like, take your jacket off, make sure you aren't, damaged anywhere. And I heard my phone ring because my wife was calling because she got a crash notification, and my phone was like so far down the road I couldn't even see it. And my brother's like, I think that's your phone. And I'm like, oh, okay. Phone's fine. But I don't know if the iPhone calling 911 automatically disconnected my Cardo or if there's some safety feature in there, but it just disconnected from it. The Cardo wasn't off, but it wasn't connected to my phone. So don't know what happened there, but either way, just figured I'd let you guys know the gear that worked for me and kept me, alive and walking around today. So I've got a handlebar ordered. I'm going to order the stuff for the engine guard, but hopefully I'll be back on the road in a couple days here. Thanks for watching.